We've been speaking over the last 3 days, and we've now seen what we can, I guess, call a successful operation. Another day where the truce has held. Following that very anxiety-induced hitch that we saw yesterday, it seems things are much more smoother today.
I think we have to understand that when we're dealing with Hamas, we're dealing with a very brutal and fanatical enemy. And that, like yesterday, they cause great pain to the families of the people who are expecting their loved ones to return by playing games and delaying it till the very last moment. Today, it happened swifter. That's a good thing. And we'll see what happens tomorrow, because tomorrow, as you know, according to the agreements reached, tomorrow is the last grouping of Israelis that must leave to make that total of 50. That is the agreement under which we have this humanitarian pause in the fighting. And then, as the American National Security Advisor said just hours ago, Sullivan, he said in his interview that now and then the ball will be in Hamas's court. Do they extend the ceasefire and release more people, or is it back to fighting? It's their call.
And that is the question I was going to get to, because there is growing international pressure from those in the region who have been working with you very closely, the Qataris, the Egyptians, to get these Israeli hostages and foreign nationals out for a more permanent ceasefire. They say the humanitarian situation is unacceptable in Gaza. How would you respond? Is that something that the Israeli government is now looking, and options they're exploring as well, on how to reach a more permanent ceasefire?
So there's a clear path to extend this humanitarian pause, and that is, of course, for Hamas to release more hostages. And we've said publicly, and we mean it, and it's part of the agreement that was brokered with the help of the Americans and others, that we will give an extra day for every 10 hostages released. So that gives Hamas the ability to keep the situation quiet, to prevent a return for timing, as long as they continue releasing the hostages. It's simple.
Mr. Regev, I just want to show our viewers the image of Offa prison in the West Bank, where we are expecting 39 Palestinians who are in Israeli prisons to be released as well as part of this deal. The deal, as we've been saying, includes 50 Israeli women and children, and also 150 Palestinian women and children. You were very clear when we spoke the other day that some of these people who are being released have been accused of incredibly serious crimes. But still, that is the deal that has been struck, and they have been released. And yet we have seen tensions rising. We've seen the IDF using live ammunition and tear gas against those who have gathered there. Do you think that this is now the right approach, given how tense the situation is right now, how much this could actually further escalate?
I think our goal is to de-escalate. And of course, Hamas's supporters in the West Bank and others with a radical agenda want to use the release of these prisoners who ultimately should serve out their full sentences. But as part of the agreement, we've agreed that they be released early. And of course, they want to turn them into heroes. And we don't think people who've stabbed innocent civilians or thrown petrol bombs at cars randomly at a road, and other people who are convicted of violent crimes, should be treated as heroes. Either way, the goal of our security forces is to contain the situation on the West Bank, not to see violence erupt. And here, Hamas has a contrary goal.
Do you think they're doing this? Do you think, though, that they are doing a good enough job? Because we're seeing raids taking place, we're seeing live ammunition being used, we're seeing tear gas being used. It doesn't seem like the situation is being contained. It's further inflaming.
Yalda, as you know well, there are Hamas cells across the West Bank. There are other radical groups across the West Bank who want to use the crisis in Gaza as an excuse to escalate the situation, to create violence and havoc on the West Bank, to commit the sort of atrocities that Hamas tries to commit from Gaza, or has tried to commit from Gaza. And so for all those reasons, we have to preempt. And our security forces have been going and arresting Hamas activists, breaking up cells. And so far, the level of violence on the West Bank has been low, much lower than anything going on in Gaza, and that's a good thing, and we want to keep it that way.
Mr. Regev, we will hopefully speak to you again over the coming days as we wait and see what happens tomorrow and, of course, beyond tomorrow, which will be a critical and important question. Mark Regev, thanks very much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.